ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम सदाशिवसमारंभां शंकराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। सर्ववेदान्तसिद्धान्त गोचरं तमगोचरं गोविन्दं परमानन्दं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्। Hari Om, salutations to all. So 333, we saw that the example of the thief was given here. And Shankaracharya says here that mithyabhisandhana ratastu nashyet drishtam tadetad yada chaura chaurayoho. So one who dwells on the unreal is destroyed, like one who is a thief feels inside and outside, both conflict, agitation, etc. And hence the suggestion in the next verse he gives for a seeker is Yatira sadanusandhim bandhahetum vihaya swayamahamasmi tyatmadrishyaiva tishthet sukhayati nanunishta brahmani svanubhutya harati paramavidya karya dukkham pratitam. So he says here, Yatihi. Who is a Yati? One who is living in self-control and who is putting forth efforts. That person is called as a Yati. A seeker, basically. Yatihi. Sometimes Yati word also means a sannyasi. Here in this context, it is a seeker. Maybe or may not be a sannyasi. So, Yatihi asat anusandhim. The brooding over the sense objects, the unreal world. Bandha hetum, which is a cause of bondage. Vihaya, one has to drop. Have a functional relationship, transactional relationship with the world, but not a brooding, not a relationship where one expects permanent happiness from the impermanent things. Psychologically, no dependency on anything outside. Then what should one do? Because mind doesn't know what not to do. If you tell the mind, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, it will do that more. So if I have to not brood on the world, then what should I think about? Swayam aham ayam Swayam ayam aham asmi. I am that pure consciousness. Iti asmi. Iti atma drishyaiva tishthet. Fix the mind on the thoughts of the self. Withdraw from the world, fix on the self. Both these have to happen. Without withdrawing from the world, I try to fix on the self. Mind will again and again go back to the world. Completely withdrawing, trying to withdraw from the world, but nothing to fix on, which is what many people attempt. Mind should become completely blank, no thought must come, which means withdraw from the world, but nothing to attach to. With willpower, one can do even that for some time, but that is not what is going to transform us from within. My identity still remains, I am Mr. So and so. But when we contemplate steadily on the Atma, that identity changes. I am not this so and so, I am that infinite consciousness. not as the BMI, as the pure consciousness. I am that which pervades the whole universe. So Atma Drishthyaiva Tishthet. I am Aham Asmi iti Atma Drishthyaiva Tishthet. Sukhayati Nanunistha Brahmani Swanubhutya. Because then what will happen? Firmness, this steady contemplation on the Atma will bring Brahmani Nishtha. It will bring abidance in that Supreme Brahman. Why? Because this Atma is that Brahman. This consciousness is that which pervades this whole universe. And that consciousness is in my heart as Aham, Aham, Aham. All the time I'm experiencing it. It's not something not experienceable by us. Every moment I'm experiencing that only. But I don't know, okay, that is the consciousness. So he says, once you get the Brahmanishtha, Sukhayati, one will be in that state of bliss. And it will be one's experience, Svanubhutya. This is not some textbook theory. This is our experience. Just that today we think that that small I is the real self. Actually, that small I does not exist. Only the big I, Brahman, exists in all. But identified with one body, we are thinking I am this, so that small I has come about. So if I have withdrawn from all these and steadily contemplate on that Atma, I will realize Madatma Sarva Bhutatma. The Atma in me is the Atma in all. That's all pervasive Brahman. And through steady practice, when the Brahmanishtha happens, one experiences bliss. It is one's own direct experience, not a theory. And this will take away Harati Parama Vidya Karya Dukkham. It will take away the avidya and all the works of avidya. So avidya, then false identification, incompleteness, desire, thoughts, action, results, vasana, all that gone. Why? Because it is a source of dukkha only. Dukkha pratitam. Hence, for a seeker to constantly contemplate on the non-dual self, having withdrawn from the world, is an important aspect. And while working in the world, to see this as an expression of the divine and to do work with the attitude that I am serving the divine. In that way, there is no plurality. I am not thinking of the world while working. I am thinking of the world as Brahman only while working also. So in meditation also I am contemplating on Brahman. In the work also I am thinking this is my devotion, my dedication to the Lord. That Supreme Consciousness, who is Ishvara. That way, steadily the mind will have thoughts of the non-dual reality. And then the worldliness which is there in us gets removed, Brahmanishtha happens, and that person experiences infinite bliss. Now, continuing that further, Bahyanusandhi Parivardhayet Phalam Durvasaname Vatatasthatodhikam Jnatva Vivekai Parihritya Bahyam Swatmanusandhim Vidadhita Nityam. He says Bahyanusandhim Parivardhayet Phalam. Constantly contemplating on the outside external things will only increase its result, meaning increase the bondage. What is that? Durvasana meva. All the extroverted vasanas will increase. That phalam is explained ahead. Durvasanam, that is the phalam. That it will enhance these extroverted tendencies which take me away from the Atma. See, that's why it is Durvasana. Now here Durvasana does not mean a bad vasana. Any extroverted vasana, it need not be immoral, it need not be bad. Any vasana which is making me extrovert, whereby I am going away from the self, increasing my body identification, Jivatma Bhav, Dehatma Bhav, then that is called a Durvasana here. Otherwise, Durvasana can mean, in a general context, Durvasana can mean a bad Vasana, which makes me do something wrong, something immoral, something harmful. So here it is not necessarily that. It could be just a simple desire to, buy a vehicle, or to eat something food good, or to go somewhere, visit some place. But the mind becomes extrovert with that. And again, I'm saying there is no problem in eating something, buying a car, going somewhere, no issue by itself. But we do all that with the attitude that without this, I can't be happy and I need this to be happy. Our psychological sense of well being, happiness, etc., depends on all these. Because we feel I am the body and I am the jiva and I need this. That is the problem, not by itself anything. So anything that strengthens this notion that I am a jiva and without this I can't be happy, that is a durvasana here. So Bahyanusandhim. So when one thinks about anything in the world, why does one brood on anything in the world? Because of the Jivatma Bhav. Because I think I am the finite individual. So one broods. So this car would be so nice, and then when I sit on in this and I can go on a long drive, and then we will have some nice time, and then what people will think about us, and so many things one goes on brooding. So as one broods on that, why is one brooding on that? Because the basis of that brooding is I am this Mr. So and so, and I want to experience of many things like this to be happy. Now that will make me restless. Now to sit quietly, withdraw the attention, focus on the self, think about the work as offering to the divine, none of that is going to happen because the mind is preoccupied with other things. So Bahyanusandhi Parivardhayet Phalam. See, this I am talking at a simple level. If we take this for a sadhak who already has Vivek, Vairagya, Shatka, Sampatti, Mumukshutvam, then what is this Bahyanusandhi? Then the Bahyanusandhim is even the attitude, even the expectation of the result of spiritual practice also is Bahyanusandhi. That I should experience purity of mind and by this time this will happen, by this time this will happen. So that dependency on the result of spiritual practice also becomes Bahyanusandhi. Anything other than the self when I am thinking, that will become Bahyanusandhi. Oh, Sattva Guna has increased so much in my mind. I feel so much calm, so much peace, so happy. Where I was, from there to what I have come to, all this is Bahyanusandhi. I think realization is very close now. It's just a matter of few days, it will happen. Anything. Evaluating the progress or thinking of any other siddhis also. I'm able to read the minds of people. I know things before itself. Premonition happens. A lot of things like that. So Bahyanusandhim can mean many different things. The simple principle is anything that takes me away from the self, which makes me brood on the not self, that is called Bahyanusandhim. For different people, it will be at different levels. For some, it will be brooding on the result of the result. That when I become successful, what will be the result of that? When I get this promotion, what will be the result of that? So one is brooding not on the promotion, one is brooding on the result of that promotion, which is actually the reason why we are attached to the result. We are not attached to the result by itself for the sake of only the result. We are attached to the result because I am attached to the result of the result. That when I get this promotion, when I get this bungalow, when I get this marks, when I get this particular person, this anything, what will happen? That is what I am more interested in. I will look good, I will feel good, what people will talk about me, I will become famous, this will bring me more success, this will bring me more contacts. That result of the result is what I'm attached to. So some people will brood on the result of the result. Some people will brood on the result. Very, very anxious about the result. Will I get, will I not get? What if I don't get? Brood on the result. Some people will brood on the action, that this has to be done like this only. And one goes on imagining about that. Because one wants to get the result, constant imagination about how to improve my action, how to improve the quality, what should be done, how can I get that result in a better way. And sometimes they will become very insistent on that action. This has to be done like this only. Sometimes it is a functional thing, it can be done like that only, like hydrogen 2 and oxygen 1 you mix, then only water will come. That's a functional requirement. I'm talking about psychological, where my way or highway is like that. So they have brooded so much on that, they can't accept any other person's view or any other alternative way to act. One has got fixated with that. So one broods, gets fixated on that. So some people brood on the result of the result, some on the result, some on the action. Some will brood on their glory. I am so good. I am like this. I am like that. Because of me, so much the company has grown, my family has grown, this, that. Brood on this small I. So each one is brooding. And now what one wants can be different. So the result one wants can be different. Somebody wants siddhi, somebody wants money, somebody wants power, somebody wants fame, somebody wants objects. So result can be anything. So depending on the level of the seeker, Bahyanusandhim will have different connotations. But the principle is that anything that takes me away from the self. So Bahyanusandhim parivardhayet phalam. Durvasanameva tatastatodhikam. Then they will grow more and more. See, the principle of mind is so simple. Whatever I brood on, that will increase. The vasana for that will increase. So if I brood on the samsar, the vasana for samsar will increase. If I contemplate on the self, atma vasana will increase. Now choice is mine. Which one do I want to do? Because each one of them has their consequences. Samsar will bind us and pull us down and make us miserable. Atma vasana will destroy samsara vasanas and finally make us realize the self. So choice is up to us. If one still wants to go into samsara and experience and get beaten up, and okay, one can do that. One has already got beaten up enough. But one is not ready to let go. One says, no, somehow I will go. Generally somebody who is attached to gambling or lottery or, those kind of things, generally we will say, Arey, you are losing already. Come on, don't put more money on it. Come out, withdraw. That person is, the more one is losing, the more one is getting, that there is that feeling that, I can't lose, that I am a loser. That feeling one doesn't want. So one will say, no, this time it will work. Desperation comes. So generally one condemns that attitude of anybody who, and one says, Arey, what are you so attached to? Come out. And that Yudhishthir, he put everything on at stake, and then he also put Draupadi at stake, and we condemn all that, which is fine, but in a way we are doing the same thing. Samsara is beating us up nicely, properly. We are getting whacked nicely, but we are not leaving it. Continuing to get whacked, we are still holding on to it. And one still wants, no, in this I would have got disappointed, but in this I will not. Again one tries. It may be anything. It may be wealth, it may be relationship, it may be success, it may be anything. And one would have tasted little success, but the comparison of the success to the strain, there is no comparison only. How much one puts in and how much one gets. At least in a lottery, sometimes you put in little and you can get a lot. In samsara, it is reverse. We put in a lot and get very little, but that little, when we get, we feel so good. And again, we are ready to put a lot inside. So that samsara vasana will be like that. So vardhayet tato adhikam. Again and again and again, it will keep increasing only. It is not going to reduce. Having known this, this is the nature of this brooding and this samsara. Another example for that is the quicksand. Now, when one falls in that quicksand, then one is falling, one is getting sucked inside. The thing is, it is a very dicey situation. The more effort one is putting to come out, faster one is going down. Unless one holds on to some support and then one pulls out, if there is no other support, one can do nothing. One will just go inside. And the more effort one is putting to come out, faster one is going inside. This samsara will be like that. One will just come out, it will just suck the person in completely. So when one understands this very clearly, correct, this is the nature of samsara. If one knows that that is a quicksand, why will one jump into it? Here I am already amidst the quicksand. Already samsara is pulling me down. By my own brooding, I am pulling myself down. Now, one who knows this, jnatva vivekaihi parihritya bahyam, that person will reject it, saying nothing doing. I don't want to brood on sense objects and the world and result of the result and the body and none of this. Swatmanusandhim vidadhita nityam. One applies oneself steadily to contemplation on the self. Because otherwise the result is bondage, result is going from death to death, continuously caught in the cycle of birth and death. So a person who understood that very clearly, one should actually analyze this. This December now, next week, a week after that, this year will end. One has to do one audit that in this year, what did I achieve? How much did I invest? What did I get? Or at different levels, one has to do audit. At the physical level, what the audit has to be done. That what is the state of my body? How much have I taken care of the body as a tool for sadhana? Or I have made my body identification stronger. As a seeker, what did I do this year to reduce my body identification? What did I do this year to make the body more fit to sit for sadhana for longer time? The body audit has to be done. Emotional audit I have to do. That what are the attachments that I overcame this year? And which are the attachments that I developed new or I strengthened? Emotional level. Did devotion grow in my heart or not? How much do I feel closer to Bhagavan? What is that which makes me feel surrender, gratitude? Have I been able to go out and give love to people? Whether they give or not, independently, have I been able to go out and give love to people? Audit at emotional level. Audit at the intellectual level. What are the ideas and ideals I am convinced of which I am living uncompromisingly? Which are the areas where I compromised this year? Where I know what is right, but I still did the wrong. What are those kind of attachments that I have which make me compromise? So intellectual audit has to be done. Which are the new areas of knowledge that I acquired? Meaning, what are the new fields? Did I explore anything new? Did I learn anything new? And did I assimilate that what I learned? Suppose I learned so many books now, Vivek Chudamani and Ishavasya and Tattva Bodh, Bhaja Govindam, so many classes are going on. No doubt I am studying, it's a good thing. I'm getting knowledge, that is a good thing. In that, how many ideas of that have I been able to live? Don't worry, even if it is one or two. It doesn't mean that rest of the study is useless. No, the seeds have all gone in, knowledge is there. If I have internalized even one or two ideas properly, then it is successful. So what are such things that, oh, this talk, this idea, this appealed to me so much that now my life I have been able to apply it and it is transforming me. So that is intellectual audit. And spiritual audit. How much do I feel that I am not this body, mind and intellect? I am pure consciousness. Do I at least have some time in the day to withdraw from the world and sit quietly contemplating on the Atma or on God? That is this, na, Bahyanusandhi. Leave all that and sit for at least a few minutes. And have I been able to do it consistently? Not that once in 20 days I sit sometimes for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Every single day, am I able to sit quietly at least for a few minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but regularly every day, where I withdraw the attention from the world outside and I focus on the self. So then when we do this audit, then we know, okay, in 1 year, this is my transformation that has happened. Then the year is actually new because I as a person have changed. Otherwise, only calendar changes. 2019 goes, 2020 comes. You know, abroad, they measure the vision as 2020. If you have 2020, then you have a right vision. So 2020 is the year of vision actually. Can we have the right vision at the body, mind, intellect, spiritual level, have the right vision? Goal of life must be clear and move towards that. So the person who does this conscious evaluation, introspection, one grows also then. Otherwise, book after book one will read, nothing will happen much. And then one will say, I studied so much, but nothing happened. Nothing will happen. Consciously only one has to inculcate all these. So a person who has understood Vinatva Vivekahi Parihritya Bahyam, that person will reject all these externalities and extrovertedness. Swatmanusandhim Vidadhita Nityam. Constantly one will meditate on the self. Any other thought apart from the self. See, that's why I'm saying for the very advanced seeker who already has Vivek, Vairagya, etc. What is Bahyanusandhim, you know? One who thinks of oneself as Atma, that I am pure consciousness. For that person to come out of that thought that I am a part of the whole, or I am a servant and God is my master, that also is Bahyanusandhim. So that's the subtlest level I'm talking about. Swatmanusandhim Vidadhita Nityam. Constantly applying the mind only to the self, that there is one pure consciousness, I am that, I am not the BMI. Jiva, Jagat, Ishwara, all the three removed. Only one non-dual Brahman is there. To continuously contemplate on that non-dual Brahman is Swatmanusandhim. Any other thought, even if it is a devotional thought, from the standpoint of the non-dual reality, that is Bahyanusandhim. So I've given you different levels. Each one we have to find at which level we are and move ahead from there. But for a Vedantic seeker who already has Vivek Vairagya, who has come to the teacher now, if the teacher is telling this to that student, So for that student, already Bahyanusandhim, he has already overcome attachment to the objects and people and situations and the body, etc. But even the thought that, I am different from God, I am a part of God, I am a servant of God, even though it is about God, it is still one level lower than non-dual truth. Even Ramana Maharshi said that in Upadesh Sar. Bheda bhavanat bheda bhavanat sohamityasau bhavanabhida pavani mata. Bheda bhavanat. I am different, God is different. Compared to that, sohamiti asau bhavana. I am that pure consciousness. I am different, God is different. Compared to that, I am one with that pure consciousness. Abhida bhavana, pavani mata. That is the most purifying. Because what will happen after that? That one thought also will go. Bhava shunya sadbhava susthitihi. Bhavana balad bhakti ruttama. That one thought that I am pure consciousness, that also will go. Bhava shunya sadbhava susthiti. And one is abiding firmly in the self, which is beyond thought. Thoughtless awareness, but pure consciousness. That state. Bhavana balad bhakti ruttama. This is the highest bhakti, he says. So whether it is bhakti, whether it is jnana, parabhakti and atma jnana, they are one and the same. Where there is no difference between devotee and the Lord. That comes one notch below. That Bhagwan only gives the devotee the knowledge, dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite, by which the sense of division between the Lord and the devotee goes away. And the devotee experiences oneness with the Lord. So Ramakrishna, when he was worshipping Mother Kali, at one point he starts putting the flower on himself. Why? Because there is no difference between me and Kali. That's not blasphemy. In the world, the people have crucified many people because of this thinking blasphemy. How can you be God? About who is saying you are God? This is BMI is not God. The enlivener of the BMI, the Atma, that is pure consciousness, that is God. So for a Vedantic student who is highly advanced, for that person to even think that I am different from God, even for a moment, that becomes Bahyanusandhi. In the seat of contemplation, that is Bahyanusandhi. Coming out of that also, one lives only as a Sakshi. I am a witness, I am not the BMI. I am pure consciousness. The nature of the witness is Chaitanya Swarup. So at all times when one is abiding in that Swatmanubhutim, Swatmanusandhim, is contemplating only on the self, whether in meditation or in the world outside while working, one maintains that thought. Vidadhita Nityam. The word Nityam is that constantly apply oneself. 24/7. There is no respite saying, okay, now I have contemplated 1 hour, bas. Next 23 hours I cannot do this. I will be thinking about the world. One part of the mind may think about the functional duties and what work has to be done. That is a different matter. But my identity still remains through the day. I am Brahman. I am Sakshi. I am a witness. Where I don't think of myself as a Jiva. So that is the meaning of this verse, that how one should contemplate steadily on the self. Continuing further, 336. बाह्ये निरुद्धे मनस प्रसन्नता मन प्रसादे परमात्मदर्शनम् तस्मिन् सुदृष्टे भवबन्धनाशो बहिर्निरोध पदवी विमुक्तेः. Now he says bahye niruddhe manasa prasannata. When this objective world is one has withdrawn from, manasa prasannata, the mind becomes very, very peaceful, quiet, cheerful. Mana prasade paramatma darshanam. When the mind has become completely quiet, paramatma darshan happens. Tasmin sudrishte bhavabandha nasha. When paramatma darshan happens, then bhavabandha is destroyed. Bondage is gone. Bahir nirodha padavi vimukte. Hey, for vimukti, for final liberation, bahir nirodha is the step, padavi. Uh, Withdrawing from the world is the first step, padavi vimukti. So now this is the consequence. Samsar we saw that what will happen, durvasana meva tatasthatodhikam. If we brood on the external world, this will increase. But if I actually withdraw from the world outside and the psychological dependence on it, then mana prasannata. Now this prasannata means cheerfulness. Mind is very happy. This is to, the conditioning of the world is so strong that today my happiness depends only on things that I get and I feel I like and I get, then my happiness comes. Here ulta is said, you withdraw from the world, you will be very happy. For a seeker, this is a fact. For other people in the world, one says, what kind of a life you are living? 2 years I went to study Vedanta. Many of us, all of us, those who go to study Vedanta for 2 years, 1998 when I went. So, no, 2 years ke liye, there is no phone. Cell phone was not there. It came only in 2001, 2002, like that. There's no cell phone. No newspaper, no television, no other distraction. You are not allowed to go out of the ashram. There's a rigid, a fixed schedule, not rigid, a fixed schedule. You get up early morning at 5:30, not 5:30, get up at 4:30 or so, and 5:30 is the first Vedic chanting class. And through the day, there is all intense learning, Sanskrit class and Vedant class and bhajans and arti and so many things are there. Whole day will go in that. Nothing, no interaction with the world outside. When we were studying, one World Cup got over, I don't know anything about that World Cup. Kargil war happened. So when the war was happening, we were told, Arey, there is a war happening. Let us all pray for the well-being of our soldiers. So every day we used to go and sit in the uh, temple of Lord Shiva, Jagdishwar Mandir, and chant Mrityunjay mantra for our soldiers. But anything else that has happened in the world outside for 2 years, no idea. So before I went, I had to tell some people that I'm going. So everybody asking, what will you do? No TV, no this, no that. How will you manage to live there? What will be the thing? But I tell you, those 2 years, most blissful years. Because one is not bothered about what is happening in the world. Full focus remains on Brahma Vidya and developing that Vairagya and living also like that. So many things, so one doesn't bother at all. One lives like a sadhu, focusing only on the essential things. Food becomes minimum. Contemplation is for longer duration. So many things that we generally would have in the world, all 6 pairs of clothes we were told to bring. I took, that's all. Everything else removed, gone. That identity of Mr. So and so who was living there before in the house, that only destroyed and went there. Literally burnt up so many things of the earlier identity. Some things you retain because that you may acquire in the world for whatever, to make your various proof of whatever Aadhaar card and this and that. For that you need date of birth certificate and whatever some certificates you need. Apart from that, you destroy everything and one just goes. saying ki now renounce the world, finished, gone now. Go and study Vedanta. And 2 years, don't worry about anything happening outside. Just focus on the self. So actually, for a spiritual seeker, this is a fact. Bahye niruddhe manasa prasannata. And we also understand that in the day-to-day world also today. What is there in this world, honestly, to be so attached to? There's nothing here. But somewhere the mind gets attached. To the extent we are able to withdraw from the world and sit quietly, there is so much of joy in that withdrawal. Not out of escapism, out of maturity. One has seen enough in the world. What more one will want? But one has not explored the world inside. What one is missing out is much more. People think that, if you don't see TV, if you don't enjoy this food, if you don't have sense enjoyment, if you don't travel, you are missing out so much. Agreed, at one level, that is fine. One has to explore, one has to go through many, many things in life. That will bring a certain maturity. But that is not the only world out there. There's a world in here. And there's a world beyond that inside world also. The world of the mind inside, there's a different world of the mind inside. And then there's a different world which is the Atma. I'm missing out on that actually. If I don't know how to turn within and train my mind and explore the world within and then go beyond to the self, I'm missing out on that. This world outside though is perishable. So one who has seen enough in the world outside is the sadhak. That person has turned the attention within, has developed a mind which is single pointed, strong, subtle, that whatever that person wills will happen. Such a person actually comes to spirituality, not a loser, not an escapist, saying that, I couldn't achieve anything in the world, so what to do? One boy, young boy, he told me that. I was traveling in a vehicle and he was there in the car. He just 12 years, 10th standard, so 16-year-old. 16-year-old boy. I said, what do you want to do in life? You're doing some conversation. And he said, I have 3 options. I will do this, this, this. And if I don't get through any of this, I will join Vedanta course. I said, don't you join Vedanta course. It is not meant for losers who are saying, I can't do this, can't do this, can't do this, so then I will join Vedanta course. It is meant for a highly intellectual field. Anybody and everybody cannot just come to Vedanta and then progress on that path. It requires a lot of courage. And the ability to achieve what I have achieved in the world outside, that brings a certain confidence and strength and a certain maturity. That one has seen through the world and then one is able to withdraw. Simply having not seen the world at all and then just as an escapist one says, no, I have withdrawn from the world outside. That doesn't help. So a wise seeker who has seen through enough, who has achieved things in the world, who has that strength of the mind, and who has analyzed properly with Vivek, etc., that there is nothing out here which I need to cling on to. I may play a role here, but there's nothing here to hold on to. So, bahya niruddhe manasa prasannata. So that person learns to withdraw. And there's great joy because there is no temptation for the mind. There is no attraction for the world outside, no fascination. So mind is not getting extrovert. That mind which is quiet experiences bliss. Mana prasade paramatma darshana. That mind will experience bliss. So these 2 lines are very beautiful. Bahya niruddhe manasa prasannata. We should try to convince this mind that, oh mind, every day sit for at least 10 minutes, 20 minutes and withdraw the attention, because mana prasannata is there in that, not in running outside. How much will I keep running outside? In that running, I want peace. How is that possible? Constantly, I'm chasing something or the other and I'm getting exhausted and fatigued. When I get what I want, my chase has stopped for some time, so mana prasannata happens. But that mana prasannata lasts for a short time, because again the next desire comes, again I am chasing. So when one understands this, one has to tell this to the mind again and again. There is, and in the sense of, in the withdrawal, when one starts doing, let us say, japa, I withdrawn the mind, I am chanting the mantra, the name of the Lord, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. In that steady japa that I'm doing, you will actually feel so much of joy. Joy in the heart, quietude in the mind, joy in the heart. You know, so many mystics, they will say that Amrit flows from here. Drop by drop, it will flow into your heart. Amrit is not only out there in the Devalok where they drink that Amrit. This is the subjective Amrit. Literally, Kabir Daji also said that. Amrita Dhara, it will flow. One will feel that. It's not some imagination. It's a fact. That will rejuvenate the body also, that will strengthen the mind also. That's why it is called nectar. A mind which has lot of sattva guna will experience that. Literally, one will experience that. Some people may already experience it. Some of you are doing japa, etc. It is a fact. There is no, it's not some exaggeration or imagination. It is 100% fact. It will flow in the heart. It will come at the body level also. One will feel that. The effect of that will be felt even at the body level. So the point here is that the mind will experience. The mind which tastes that will understand and will want to do more and more of this. Bahya niruddhe manasa prasannata. Mind which doesn't feel that will want to run outside only again and again, because it is getting something there. Some temporary pleasure it is getting and it is attached to that, so it again runs. But when that mind has done vivek, one has one vairagya, has withdrawn, one experiences that inner bliss. And I'm not even talking about the bliss of the Atma right now. Mana prasannata is a quiet mind, literally experiences bliss. Why? Bliss here means the joy. Because the nature of Atma is that. Anand is the nature of Atma. Even little bit I quieten the mind, I will start experiencing Anand. Rasovai saha, it is said in the Upanishad. Taittiriya Upanishad says, Rasovai saha. Rasagga hyevayam labdhva anandi bhavati. Having attained that self, which is of the nature of rasa, Paramatma rasa, Paramananda rasa, anandi bhavati. One will become blissful. So even a little bit of quietude, one will experience lot of joy. And that mana prasade Paramatma darshanam. Then it will lead a person to the realization of the self itself. So it is not going to lead to a state of blank or a dullness or a state of denial. None of that. It will lead to bliss. And the yogis in our country, great saints and masters, have all experienced it. They all are a testimony of what all is written here. So tasmin sudrishte bhavabandhanashaha. That person has no bondage at all. One who has Paramatma Darshanam, what bondage? Ignorance only is destroyed. Root cause of sorrow is gone. Why? Steady contemplation on the self, having withdrawn the mind, contemplate on the self, realize the Atma. Bondage gone. Bahir nirodha padavi vimukte. Hence, the withdrawal of this from the world is the step towards vimukti. This is the quality what we have learned earlier as uparama. If I have shama and dama, then uparama will happen. If I have sense control, mind control, then withdrawal will happen. Bahye niruddhe is withdrawal, is uparati. So when uparati we cultivate properly, then mana prasannata, and that will destroy the bhavabandhan asha. So what is this teacher saying here? Withdraw. Learn to withdraw. Every single day, If nothing, at least 10 minutes, sit quietly and withdraw the attention from the world outside. And step by step, learn to withdraw. Focus on the body for a few days, just focus on the body from the head to the toe, different parts of the body. No, but will it not increase my Dehatma Bhav? No, because you are the seer, body is the seen. We are not focusing on the body as I am the body. We are seeing the body as an object. Like how we see anything else. Now this thermos is there, this book is there, this computer is there. I am not this. Same way, this body is there. I am not this. The body is the seen, I am the seer. So I am witnessing the whole body, part by part. Slowly withdraw the attention next few days from body to prana. Focus on the breathing. That the prana also comes and goes. I am not the prana. Then focus on to the mind. Like that, withdraw. Step by step, one learns to withdraw. Then focus on the buddhi. In the mind, hold on to the name and the form of the Lord. In the buddhi, contemplate on the Atma. Then withdraw from that also. Then what will happen? Be as a Sakshi. So this is step by step, we withdraw, realize the absolute self. So withdrawal is the step. He says Padavi Vimuktehe. When we say happiness is not outside, happiness is inside, it means this, the ability to turn the mind within and then go beyond the mind. That is where happiness is experienced. Paramatma Darshanam, Mana Prasannata and Mana Prasada, that Paramatma Darshan. Now that person is called Pandit. Who realizes this is called Pandit. See 337. Ka Pandita san sadasad viveki Shruti pramana paramarthadarshi Janan hi kuryad asato valambam Swapata heto shishuvan mumukshuhu. Kaha Panditaha san. Who is this Pandit? Sad Asad Viveki. One who is able to discriminate clearly between Sat and Asat. See, the word Pandit means Atma Vishaya Buddhi Panda Yasya Asti Sa Panditaha. One who thinks of oneself as the self, that person is called Pandit, not just a person who is a ritualist. Nowadays, people think that Panditji is somebody who does puja part. But the etymological meaning of Pandit means one who has known the self. Panda means Atma Vishaya Buddhi. Meaning I am the self, that pure consciousness is my true nature. One who has that firm understanding, that person is called as a Pandit. So who is that Sadasad Viveki, who has discriminated? On what basis? Shruti Pramana. Based on the scriptural understanding and knowledge, one who has been able to discriminate that Atma is real, everything else is unreal, and Paramartha Darshi. That person has realized the truth, Paramartha Darshi. Jananhi Kuryad Asato Avalambam. Having known this, the person withdraws. Kuryad Asato Avalambam. Why? Swapata Heto Shishuvan Mumukshuhu. Like a child doesn't know Swapata Heto. A child doesn't know. Suppose the child is walking and there is a ditch. The child doesn't know. The child just goes and falls. Swapata Heto. Shishuvat. Ignorant child. The child doesn't know if fire is there, it will put the hand. It doesn't have any knowledge. In the same way is a mumukshu. The analogy comparison here is that who will do this like a child who is ignorant? Nobody will do it. A wise person will not do it. That's the point here. That's Svapata Heto Shishuvan Mumukshu. That a Mumukshu who wants to realize the Atma, why will the person engage in something which will cause harm to that person? Like a child doesn't know and harms himself or herself. In the same way, why will a Mumukshu do things which will harm himself or herself? So, having known very clearly what the Shastra is saying, what is Atma, what is Anatma, that person learns to withdraw it and discriminate. Janani kuryad asato avalambam. Who will hold on to the unreal? One will reject the unreal. See, child to doesn't know, mumukshu to knows. Now, if a mumukshu knowing very well what is going to be harmful goes and clings to that, that is only foolishness and some delusion only. Why will one knowingly cling to something that is going to harm? But today, that is what is happening. No, samsara we are holding on to, in spite of knowing it is causing harm, we hold on to it. So many relationships which are harmful, we still hold on to it. So much abuse happens in that, verbal abuse, physical abuse, violence, so many things happen. Children will disrespect parents, siblings will fight with each other, spouses will have conflict, so many things in so many relationships. There is so much of pain, and one still continues. Same thing with the object, same thing with the situation, same thing with power, name, fame. There is so much uh, sorrow, misery, and afflictions that are there, but one is still not wanting to leave. That's the difference between the child and the seeker. The child at least doesn't know bichara is going and falling, harming himself or herself. Here, though, we harm ourselves, now we know also. The child, once it touches the fire, it gets little burned, it will not again put. But we are to getting beaten again and again in the world, and again doing same thing, again and again falling. Knowingly. And that more pain happens there. So he says, which wise person will do that? Meaning, one should not do that. So here it is, that's a warning that one should not be doing that. In this, in Gurudev's commentary, he has given the example of the child and the snake. That the snake is crawling and coming, the child doesn't know anything, so without any hesitation, it goes to catch the snake. So there he says that the child is an example of an utterly ignorant one who, not knowing the venomous nature of the objects, goes and courts them until at last they bite and pour their venom into him, which then proves quite fatal. Similarly, you and I, in our infinite incompetency, what is it, and you see? In our infinite incompetency to think correctly with our mind and intellect, might crawl forward to hug the sense objects, which inject into us the venom of lust, greed, avarice, jealousy, etc. As a result of that venom, we suffer the endless pangs of our life. Peace and tranquility die forever in our bosom. Another example he gives is the fire one. The child, while playing, goes directly and catches the candle flame and gets his hand burnt. A wise man, having been burnt once by the world of objects, will he ever, even by mistake, catch the flame? See, all these are verses for us to learn to withdraw. One last verse, then this section concludes. Dehadisam siktamato na muktihi muktasya dehadyabhimatya bhavaha suptasya no jagaranam na jagratah swapnastayorbhinna gunashrayatvat. Dehadi samsiktam ato na muktihi. One who is attached to the body does not have liberation. One who is liberated, muktasya dehadyabhimatya bhavaha. That one who is liberated does not have the bhava of I am the body. So meaning they both are mutually opposite. If I think I am the body, I am not liberated. If I am liberated, I don't think I am the body. Suptasya no jagaranam na jagratah swapnastayoho. One who is asleep, that person is not awake. One who is awake is not in the state of sleep. Why? Bhinna gunashrayatvat, because they are completely different in nature. What is the meaning of this? That if I want to realize Brahman, I cannot have body identification. That's what it means. If I think that I am the body, then I cannot have Brahman, the realization of the self. And if I think that I am the self, I will not have the identification with the body. So the conclusion here is that one pure consciousness is our true nature. To realize that, what has to be done? One has to withdraw from the body identification and from the world of objects outside. Those two, if I withdraw, then I can become a Pandit. If I don't withdraw, then I'm like the child. Again and again with goes and quotes, the world gets beaten up again and again, continues that. Worse than a child, because child will not do it second time. Here too we will do again and again. So they are mutually contradictory. By saying that there is no room for body identification, one can't say that I will have 10% body identification, but 90% I am Brahman. Because thoda so chahiye jivan. It cannot happen. They both cannot go together. They need to be separated out. So that concludes this one particular section on that one non-dual reality. More we continue tomorrow. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.